Okay, I'm just going to do some planty chores, some cleaning in the plant room. I just got to put some things away and sweep the floors up, and maybe some pruning on some of the plants that are propagating or up on my shelf. I might have to do some watering as well, so I'll take you along with me. So I'm not going to talk during this part. I'm pretty much going to play some music and probably fast play this for you guys so it's not too boring. But yeah, I want to do all this and listen to some music while I do it. So sit back, relax, and watch me clean my plant room. So getting started here, I'm just going to clean up the top of my work area here, where I do some of my repots and propagations and things like that, as well as some put away some things in my closet. And now I'm going to just go around the plant room and give it a good sweep, making sure I clean up some of the debris. I actually should have done this after I go around and prune all the plants, but I think that the amount of dirt on the ground was bothering me, so I decided to do the sweeping beforehand. I do actually off camera do a second sweeping and a mop, but I did want to show you guys my process of sweeping. This is what I do at least a couple times a week, because when I'm working in here I do drop a lot of soil and just leaf drops and bloom drops and things like that, and I just feel that I have a better control on any kind of insects or anything like that when I can keep the floors nice and clean. And after I clean the floors, I do also like to go ahead and clean my chairs, which you will see here in a second. I use this lint roller for my chairs, and I mainly do this because my kids come in here and sit on these chairs, and sometimes the bunny hairs transfer to the cushions, and if there's any dust or debris or anything, I just like to keep my surfaces nice and clean, and so I go ahead and do this. I do actually remove the cushion covers once in a while and run them through the washer and dryer, but this week I just wanted to use the lint roller. They weren't looking bad at all, so I just wanted to get rid of some of the hair on the seats and the cushions. I also use it on my chair where I sit in case there's any of my hair or the bunny's hair and things like that. I just like to keep it as clean as possible. And now that we're done doing all that, we're going to go ahead and move on to pruning all of the plants. If you guys haven't checked out my PalmStreet, go ahead and check them out. All these plants on this top shelf that I'm pruning right now, really all of the plants in this plant room, are on my PalmStreet, and some also on my Facebook Market. If you're interested in any of the plants, and I'm just going around just checking all of the plants, making sure they're okay, pulling off any old leaves, any dried up leaves or yellowing leaves, making sure that the plants are in good health, and also checking for pests or any plants that may need some watering. These plants are really bushy. Some of these have already sold, So if you're interested in any of them, go ahead and check out my PalmStreet. These are really well-rooted plants and definitely need an up pot soon if they haven't sold. And maybe I will take you guys along with me when I do an up pot. But I try to keep them small so that I'm not shipping large plants. If I make them bigger plants, then I will sell them in my Facebook market. This is a Micans, and I'm just showing you how rooted she is. She also had some new growth that was coming out of the soil. Hopefully it makes its way out. And here I'm just pruning any of the old leaves, which are the leaves that were propagated. So essentially the mother leaf. And I just prune off the ones that are ready to go. None of these plants have any kind of pest or anything, so I'm not concerned about transferring anything by using the same shears to cut all of the older leaves. And here I'm showing you how rooted this plant is. That one actually sold to one of my friends. She will probably be picking that one up soon. The pearls and jade and the Scindapsus argyrius. I have quite a few of those available. I have some smaller ones and some larger ones. These that I'm currently showing you are the smaller ones. This is supposed to be a Philodendron Brazil, as you can see by these leaves, but it gave me a lot of the neon leaves for some reason. This is a Tradescantia filling Flirty, I believe it's called. This plant is not super easy to care. Well, it is easy to care. I just let it dry out too fast. It is a water-loving plant, as anybody who knows Tradescantias would know. Tradescantias love water, and they don't like to dry out, but they don't like to be top watered. And so she got a little crispy on me because of that. And then here is a smaller one. That was a Scindapsus Moonlight that I propagated. But yeah, this is a smaller Tradescantia. This one is the Tradescantia albiflora. And so I'm just cutting off any of her dry, crispy leaves and putting her back in place. This is the, I believe she's the marble peperomia, obtusifolia. That one is available as well. I don't think I have her listed on PalmStreet, but maybe I can list her for you guys if you are interested. This is a peperomia hope propagation that I made, and this is another one. Some of these didn't take well to the soil, and I just am going to give them a little bit more time. I am pulling off anything that is dead and dry. And now moving on to this tray are all of my pothos varieties. I have some marble queens, some golden pothos in here. A lot of them are vining and trailing. I really need to get me like a wheeling cart for my shop room here, because I need a surface where I can put the trays so that I can look at them and work on them if I need to, and then be able to put the trays back up. But yeah, all of these plants are actually posted on my PalmStreet. The pictures have not been updated. I definitely need to update them because they're a lot bigger and fuller than they look in the pictures. And so if you're interested in any of them, yeah, they just know that the pictures need to be updated. Hopefully I can work on that this week. Beautiful marble queen here. This is the Cebu Blue pothos. Doing great. She does have some yellow leaves from, I guess, underwatering her. She seems to be a lot thirstier than my pothos varieties. And down here, I just have my Asian violets. They're all in pond. I do want to up pot them before I post them on PalmStreet for you guys. This is another Tradescantia albiflora. That's a 6-inch pot. She has actually sold locally. This one has sold as well. This was the Epipermnum albo that I picked up from Casa Farms that I had to rescue because it was completely root rotted, and I divided the plant up into 3 different pots, and I have sold 2 out of the 3 pots already. This Syngonium here I actually sold as well already. I believe this was the only Epipermnum albo that I have left, and you will see the next one soon. This variegated string of hearts is really full, but I do want to transfer her into a deeper pot and have her root up some more before I list her. And this Anthurium Stock Block Michelle is ready for sale. I just have to post her soon. She has actually given me a new leaf, and I will probably share that with you guys in a video coming up soon, or next week maybe. I did propagate from my Schefflera umbrella tree, and so I have 2 little babies available of that. This Monstera Adansonii actually sold already, so she's not available, but I do have other Monstera Adansonii available. This Epipermnum pinnatum albo sold as well. I did sell, I think it was 2 out of my 3 string of hearts. I do have 1 available, but I did add some more propagations to the pot, and I'm just going to give it some time to root before I list that one. I just wanted to make the pot a little bushier on top, so I did propagate some more strands onto the top, and here I'm just showing them. This was before I filled the top up with propagations, but I'm just showing you how rooted the plant is. I really like potting these in the clear pots as well, so I know when they need to be watered or not. This is my Hoya australis. She is actually available. And this is my Hoya Crimson Queen. She is also available. I still have to post these 2 on my shop. I actually took down all of my Hoyas because I'm going to be treating them, because I found some flat mites on some of my propagations. Not so much these bigger plants that I'm showing you now, but the smaller ones that I have propagated. And I'm working on a video to show you that. This Hoya Chelsea actually went through some trauma, let me tell you. She actually sold, and the person that she sold to didn't receive her because you guys know all of the problems with USPS this winter. A lot of the plants have been delayed, and the Hoya Chelsea actually got delayed for an entire month, you guys, before she was actually delivered to the person that I sold it to. But surprisingly, a month in transit and in this winter, the plant was nice and healthy. I am going to share a photo of the plant that she shared with me, showing me how healthy it arrived. And here is a beautiful variegated African violet. I have tons of these available for you guys, so hopefully you check my PalmStreet out and pick one up if you like the variegated African violets. They are a beautiful, fast growing, blooming plant. And here I'm just showing you some of the plants on the shelves up close. Just a quick little glimpse at what I have propagating, how everything is doing so far. These cuttings are doing really well with new growth. I do have to treat them as well, just to make sure that there are no flat mites on them. These are just some succulents and some succulent propagations that I have. These I just did for fun. These little plants here I actually had posted on my PalmStreet and they didn't really sell, so I decided to pot them into larger pots and I will be selling them locally. In these domes I just have some propagations growing, and down below I have some more propagations, some begonia propagations here. Those plants down there on the very bottom are from Rachel from Lots of Pots, and these are some more propagations that I potted up and I'm just waiting for them to get fuller. Here are some wet sticks that I did of the elbow, as well as the Monstera adansonii. There's a lot of the plants that I have in stock. Some of these have sold already. And here is a look at all of the Hoyas that I have in soil. Some I do have in moss here. These were my freebies that I was giving for all of my plant sales as a thank you. And then I have some African violet propagations. I also have some water propagations. These here in Pawn are just some plants that I had listed on PalmStreet, as well as these on trellis that are in soil. I had listed on PalmStreet as well, but because I am going to go ahead and treat all of my Hoyas, I did take them all down, and I have actually treated these Hoyas already before I filmed this, or after I filmed this portion of the video. So you will get to see that in a separate video. Here are some Regal Shields that I have on this trellis, wall trellis that I created on here. And I'm just going to go ahead and prune all of the yellow leaves or yellowing leaves. Any leaves that look crispy or look like they are completely done, I don't really like cutting them off until they're completely yellow, so you will see when I give you a little close-up of all of the plants, you will see some crispy leaves or yellowing leaves that are not completely yellow. This one here is like throwing a complete fit, so she's gonna go back into one of my propagation bins. I just cut off the two leaves, and this one is looking beautiful, so I hope she continues to grow and flourish for me. This one is doing really good. Some of these have actually sold already locally for me, but I have so many Regal Shields available, so if you guys are interested in a Regal Shield, make sure that you check me out on PalmStreet, or if you're local to me, check me out on Facebook Market. I am selling them super cheap since I have so many, as well as the begonia lucerna here that you see me pruning. Again, I have so many of these propagations that I am really giving really good deals on these plants because I just don't want to keep them all. I want to definitely sell these. I did also propagate my ficus plants before they got sold, so I do have some propagations available of those. And here is a close-up look at everything. Already nice and tidy. The white that you see on that one leaf is actually just crystals from the leaf above dripping on it when I water. Look at the begonias, they look gorgeous. Even the ficus are doing so great. And over here, I'm just going to give you a glimpse of everything on this side of the room. I did already take care of all of the plants on this side of the room, so there isn't anything really to do here. But I wanted to show you what I had. Those two Hoyas actually sold on the bottom. And I wanted to show you how crazy this tropical cacti is growing all the way up to my ceiling. I don't know where she's going or where she thinks she's going. So as you guys know, I've been running out of supplies for the plants and stuff, just potting mix and things. So I did a little Amazon haul of some things that I wanted to pick up for my soil mixes. And yeah, so this portion of the video, we're just going to do an Amazon unboxing. I'm going to tilt you guys down a little bit so that you can see everything on the table as I am unboxing. I will try to keep myself in frame if I can. If I can't, I couldn't keep myself in frame with the unboxing. So here we go. My head's going to be a little cut off. But this is the first thing I want to unbox here, and hopefully I'm not showing my address, but we're going to go ahead and open these boxes up. This first thing that we're unboxing here, I'm pretty sure are some pots, some clear pots that I wanted to purchase for some of the plants. I believe these are 4-inch pots, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 3-inch. Yes, they're 4-inch clear pots. I like to use these pots to pot up any of my propagations to get them started. These are not very tall. They're kind of shallow, but they're a good size. And so I purchased a set of 100 of these off of Amazon. I find these to be pretty good pots. So yeah, this is what the holes look like on the bottom. And they're just your clear pots. These also fit nicely in catch pots, so I like to purchase them. The next thing is this bag here. I believe this is not planty related. I think this one is some nail stuff that me and my daughter wanted to purchase. Yeah, this is just the Beatles gel glue. And I think we got some greens for St. Patrick's Day coming up. If you don't know, I am a March baby, so I really love the color green, as you can see. And so I purchased this Beatles nail glue set, nail gels, polish. Yeah, let's take a look at the colors. Oh, these are the cat eye ones. Yes, I wanted to try some cat eyes, and it comes with the little magnet, as well as I believe these are for swatches, and these are the colors here. I know it's not planty related, but I thought I'd share with you guys. I'm super excited to do a nail set because I haven't done my nails in quite a bit. I just wanted to give them some time to breathe. And so, yeah, I'm excited to create a St. Patrick's Day themed nail set with those. I also picked something else up here. This one I think is not planty related either. Yeah, these are just some nail glue, the KDS nail glue. So I purchased that to try that out. I've never tried that nail glue out before. So yeah, I got a few of those. And then I have this box here. Open it up. I honestly don't remember what this is. It's probably substrate. Yeah. So I've been running out of all of my substrates for African violets as well as my substrate for cacti and succulents, and my other substrates for my regular houseplants or tropical plants, Hoyas, and things like that. So I picked up this Captain Jack's Grit Mix. I like to use this Captain Jack's Grit Mix as a topper for my cacti and succulents. It works really well. You can also use it as just the potting mix itself, but I like to use it as a topper. So I grabbed a bag of that, and I also grabbed this Black Gold Succulent and Cactus Mix. I believe this is the one that I typically buy and works well with my cacti and succulents. I do add some amendments to them if needed. So I grabbed that, and this bag, I'm not sure what it is either. Go ahead and open it up. Oh, okay, this one is the African Violet Mix from Black Gold. I've never tried the African Violet Mix from the Black Gold company. It's actually Sungrow, and I wanted to try this out because I feel like the organic African violet soil that I was using from Espoma kept on coming with a lot of fungus gnat larvae, whether I picked it up on Amazon or if I purchased it at a local nursery. It was always too moist and always had some type fungus gnats in it. So I'm going to try this out, and hopefully this one won't give me that problem. Fingers crossed. I'm sure I will have to amend it with some perlite, but I wanted to try that out and keep you guys updated on that as well, if this is a good mix for the African violet. Next up is this box here. Cut right into it. Looks like it was kind of broken on the bottom already, but let's open it up. So in this box I have the sulfur, and I decided to get this big bag because I do grow a lot of Hoyas, and I found some of the flat mites, I believe it is, on my Hoyas. It doesn't look like spider mites. It looks definitely like flat mites. There was no webbing, and I had a lot of nubby growth as well as some leaves that dropped and stuff like that. So I am treating all of my Hoyas in my personal collection as well as in the shop with sulfur. So I purchased that on Amazon to get started with that this weekend. And I will probably do a separate video on how I use this to treat my Hoyas. So stay tuned for that. I won't be able to do it in this video because I'm trying to get this video up for you guys this weekend. So this is the next box that I want to unbox. Again from Amazon, and this one is just a huge box, and I thought it would come in a separate bag or something, but it's just horticultural charcoal that I want to use in my mixes, and I got a really big box of that so that I can do my soil mixes. But I'm just going to leave it in the box because the bag that it comes in is open. So yeah, I never ordered this before, but it's from Amazon, and I'll leave everything linked down below in case you're interested in any of it. This next box is huge and I'm not going to put it on the table, so let's go ahead and open it up. I believe this is my perlite, my chunky perlite, again for my soil mixes. I did also purchase some fluval for my propagations, and I purchased some Repti bark as well. I've already started using those. This is the huge bag of perlite. I hope this isn't the fine one because it feels like the fine one. Yeah, it's the fine perlite. I did want the chunkier perlite. I'm not sure if that was my mistake or theirs, but huge bag of perlite. So I'm going to go ahead and get some bins for some of these substrates and just empty them out for use and create my soil mix here with you guys. So I'm going to go get some bins and I'll be right back. So I have my clear bins here. I also have my larger clear bin here that I'm going to use for my multi-purpose soil mix for all houseplants. I also use this for Hoyas, and if I need to amend it anymore, I will for Hoyas as I go, but this is going to be my base mix here. We're going to go ahead and just take some of these empty bins and start putting in the African violet soil along with the cacti soils and things like that. So I thought I'd bring you guys along with me to do that. Hopefully you can see everything that I'm doing here. I'm going to open up the Captain Jack's Gritty Mix. This is what the mix looks like. Next, we're going to do the African Violet mix. And I don't think this whole bag will fit in here. So the mix definitely feels like it's wet. So I will go ahead and put it in here, but I'm going to put some DE, diatomaceous earth, in with the soil and mix it up. And I may also add some perlite as well when I go to use it. So this is what the African violet mix looks like. I definitely am going to have to add some perlite into that. That's okay because it'll stretch out. And I have plenty of perlite with that big box of perlite that I purchased. Next, we're going to do the cactus and succulent soil. This is what the cactus and succulent mix looks like. It's very airy and light, and I can feel that there's some bark in here. It's got a lot of perlite, so I don't think I need to amend it with perlite, but I might add in some grit from the other Captain Jack's mix when I pot up my cacti and succulents, depending on what type of pot I'm potting them in. If they're going into terracotta, this soil straight like this will be fine, topped off with the Captain Jacks. If they're going into ceramic or a plastic pot, then I would definitely amend it with the Captain Jack's grit mix, just to make sure that the succulent and cacti doesn't hold too much moisture in those types of pots. So the rest of these that didn't fit into the bins, I will just go ahead and put them in a separate bin closed up. Now we're going to go ahead and work on my main soil mix. I like to add some bark. I typically use orchid bark, but I found out that the Repotting bark is really good because it's a lot smaller than the orchid bark, and it would be perfect for my Hoyas and my houseplants. It's not such large chunks. I did want to get the chunkier perlite, so I will have to pick that up on a separate time. But I'm going to go ahead and just dump this container. And as you can see, it's not completely full, but I'm going to use this for measuring my substrates and things like that. So we're going to dump this container in here, as well as some charcoal and some worm castings. And I do have to go grab my cocoa core that's mixed with perlite. It also has some Repotting bark in it already. You might want to wear a mask when you're doing this. I typically don't unless I'm working with the finer perlite, but the Repotting bark does kick up some dust as well. And then here I have my container of worm casting. So with worm casting, I just like to do about 5 scoops like this, full scoops of worm castings, and I just spread it in there. I believe that was 5. And since this is more of an organic fertilizer, they also do get clumped up, so I break that up with my hands. But because this is more of an organic fertilizer, you don't have to worry about adding too much or measuring. It's not like the Osmocote beads or, liquid fertilizers or anything like that. It's more organic, so you can put in as much or as little as you like. And if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't change the pH balance of your soil or your soilless mix, so I don't worry about that too much. I do typically check my pH balance of my soil once I mix it, but I just wanted to do a quick small video. I do mix in between the things that I add, and I wanted to show you guys a small video of what I'm doing for my soil, an updated version, and I typically like to eyeball things. And now we're going to go ahead and add we're going to go ahead and add the charcoal. I'm going to use this bin as measurement. So I did 5 scoops, and I'm going to just dump it in here and see what it's looking like. And I'm going to use my scoop to mix it all up. Charcoal, you definitely don't want to put too much of because it can change the pH balance of your soil, but you do want to see your charcoal in your mix. So now that we have that all mixed up, this is what it's looking like. I'm going to go ahead and go grab my cocoa coir that I have mixed up in another bin, and I'll be right back. So this is my bin that I have left of cocoa coir. I am going to go ahead and pick some up from the hydro store that I go to. So in here, I already have some worm casting in here, as well as the recti bark. So I'm just going to dump this in with what I have mixed in here, trying not to make a mess. And then I'm going to mix everything up. And this is just a small batch to get me started. I do have a couple plants that I want to pot up that I have propagating in water and in fluval as well. And so I just really needed to make a mix. And so I thought I'd share it with you guys since I was going to do it anyways. I do like to add the chunky perlite, but that's not the perlite that I purchased apparently. I purchased the smaller, finer perlite, and this mix already has the smaller, finer perlite. So I will probably just pick up the chunky perlite. Hopefully they have it at my hydro store, and add it to this mix to make it even chunkier, because the cocoa coir can hold on to a lot of moisture. So you want to make it super chunky and airy with the chunkier perlite, because I feel like the chunkier perlite doesn't float to the top when you water, and the smaller perlite does. You can also opt for pumice if you like, but pumice does hold on to water as well. And it can be heavy on your mixes if you use pumice. I guess it all depends on what you like, what your conditions are like in your home, of what kind of mix you like to have for your plants. I am considering selling my soil mixes in bags, because a lot of people locally have been inquiring about my mixes and they really like it. And so I'm thinking about selling them. If you're interested, keep an eye out, because I will probably sell it on PalmStreet as well. Just know that when you sell soil mixes and things like that, shipping might be a little bit more than a plant, depending on the weight of the product and distance of shipping. So for now, I am really happy with this mix. And as you can see, I only did about half a bin. I don't know if you could tell. It's only about, probably not even half a bin. This is like a fourth maybe of the bin. I will end up making more, but I don't like to make too large of mixes too soon. But I wanted to let you see what my mix is looking like. This is what it looks like. And so I have one plant that I want to repot, but I'm not sure that the roots will be good enough to put in this mix. But I'm going to go ahead and clean all this up and put everything away, and then I will be back and we will repot that plant. Hi guys, so I'm back and I have 2 plants that I want to repot with you guys, and I'm going to, this portion of the video is going to be like a Q&A. I think about a month ago, I put out some questions and I have them written down on this paper here so that I can go ahead and answer them for you. So if I look over to the side, it's because I'm reading the questions off to you. But I only got a few questions, which is okay. Thank you guys so much for answering in your questions for this Q&A. Yeah, let's go ahead and do the repots. I want to repot this plant here, and this is an Alocasia sinuata, I believe it's called. Alocasia sinuata, or silver cloud, or something like that it's called. And she's in pond. She just has some roots and she looks healthy, but she doesn't grow rapid enough for me. I think that she might do better in soil. Plus, this is one of the plants that I want to sell, and I don't really want to sell it in pond. So I thought I could transfer her to fluval and get her, once she gets pretty rooted, then I'll transfer her to soil and go ahead and post her for sale. So that's one of the plants. And the other plant is my Cooper. If you guys have been watching my shop with me, you know that I picked this Cooperia up at Lowe's. I found this beautiful Cooper with variegation. And yeah, she's looking really good. She has a lot of leaves. She's actually flowering for me, which I'm not super excited about her flowering. I'm sorry I'm a little sniffly today, but yeah, hubby's actually asleep on the couch. Hopefully you don't hear his snoring and stuff in the video, but yeah, I'm in the kitchen and he's right next door in the living room on the couch, taking a nap because he's been exhausted and sick lately, so I'm gonna let him sleep. But yeah, and she also has another new growth point. I don't know if you can see it there, right there. And I just want to get her out of the store soil. I think it's about time. I am a little scared of doing it only because I don't want her to go in super shock. And I don't really want to lose this beautiful leaf that she has here with the variegation. One of the newer leaves did come in with some variegation, but it's only on the back of the leaf. You can barely see it there, that bubble of variegation. But I have hopes that she will continue to get variegated for me. She does have a leaf that's on her way out here. And I'm just going to leave it on unless it comes off by itself. And yeah, so we're going to take her out of this store soil because they're no good. And let's go ahead and start. I do have 2 containers here. I thought that I could do the one in Fluval and this one. And depending on the roots of her, we will pot her up in soil. I think she should be okay transferring from this to my soil mix. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Or I might put her in Fluval as well and then transfer her to pond. I'm not sure what I want to do just yet, but we're going to start with the first alocasia. I am going to put my gloves on just to protect my hands. I'm wondering if I should transfer both of these to Fluval and not do the soil. I think we'll just start with the Cooperia maybe so that we can see if she needs to be put in Fluval or if she can go directly into soil. I think she should be fine going into soil. I'm just a little scared because alocasia roots are pretty fine. I do like to use Myco on my alocasias, so give me a second and let me go grab my Myco. So I'm back and I grabbed my Myco here. This is the Myco that I like to use. I just picked up a new bag because I was all out of the other one. All of my plants have loved this Myco, and so I highly recommend it. It will be in my Amazon favorites down below in the description. And I like to use this when I do any transplants or repots on any of my plants. So we're going to go ahead and open it. And I like using this one. It's a favorite of mine. It's more of a granular Myco than the powder one. The powder one you put in water and you can water the plants in, like the Great White. But this one also comes in powder if you like that version instead. But I really like the granular ones. And it comes with a scoop inside. And the measurements are 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon. I normally don't even use an entire teaspoon because these are smaller plants. So grab that. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the Cooperia, and I will start answering the questions as well. Let's get the hair out of the face. Okay, we'll put her aside and work on the Cooperia. And so I just have this Halloween bucket that I use for candy and stuff. And again, this plant was from Lowe's Live Trends, and I love those ceramic pots. They're really cute. And she's in this, it's like a self-watering pot, so it has a wick on the bottom. I'm going to pull the wick off. So let's go ahead and get started with the questions. The first question comes from Rachel here on YouTube. Her YouTube is Lots of Pots. If you haven't checked her out, go ahead and check her out. I will put the name of her YouTube on the screen for you guys. And so this is what the like wick and plug thing looks like. And so I have watered her recently, so she's sopping wet, which is another reason why I decided to put the gloves on. And she looks like she has some great healthy roots, which makes me even more scared because she's soaked and I'm going to be disturbing her roots while they're wet. You typically want to do these repots when the soil of the plant is dry, but I'm going to do it now because the soil takes too long to dry and I feel like it doesn't even fully dry, which might be okay for the cuprea, but not for me because I'm an overwaterer. Okay, again, lots of pots put in the first question, and she said, what is your suggestion on taking water-rooted plants and planting them back into soil? I normally lose some of my plant when I do this process. Okay. So I kind of already answered that question without even realizing it, but any plants that I root in water, first I try to use a rooting hormone on the cuts when I am propagating them before I stick them into the water. Then once they have been in water for about 2 weeks, maybe 3, sometimes it takes about a month to get a good amount of roots, but I don't want them to grow secondary roots and get used to the water, because that's typically when I find that you have issues with plants is when they're in water for too long and they're used to being in water, and so they have water roots, not so much soil roots. So I try not to let them sit in water for too long. Plants that I don't worry about if they sit in water too long or not are like pothos, the more easier to care for plants. They typically do okay whether they have really long roots or not in water transferring to soil. But I do try to use the Myco Extreme or any Myco because I'm not super picky on Myco, but the Myco Supreme has been super good for me on transferring plants and repotting them and changing substrate and things like that. I have had luck in doing that. Another tip that I can say is when you transfer a plant from water to soil, make sure that you are watering that soil evenly because, again, those roots are used to being in water, so they need a lot of moisture. I also recommend that you put them somewhere where they're getting a good amount of light. Now, I'm not saying put them somewhere where they're going to burn from the light. They don't need super direct light, but they do need a strong amount of light in order to thrive, and also so they can soak up all of the moisture in the soil. You also want to make sure that you're not potting it in a pot that is too large. So if the root system is not that big, make sure that you're potting it accordingly. For example, if this plant has smaller roots, I would go ahead and pot it in a smaller pot. Sometimes you have to go smaller because if those roots, even though they're used to being in a lot of moisture, are sitting in soil that's staying wet for too long, there isn't a whole lot of oxygen that's getting to the roots. That's the other thing, is make sure that you have a pretty chunky soil so that it's nice and airy and well draining. So I think those are the tips that I wanted to give for that. I've had pretty good luck in transferring plants from soil or from water to soil, but most of my plants, as you guys know, are the easy common house plants that are easy to care for, except for like alocasias. Sometimes they just throw a fit. You just have to keep an eye on them and watch them and see how they're doing, if they're progressing or not. Sometimes they will go back a little and maybe drop a lot of leaves, and that's pretty common, I would say. I would say you need some patience to let your plant acclimate to going into soil after being in water. Sometimes we can be like helicopter moms with our plants, and They just need you to ignore them until they're doing better sometimes. And everybody's environment, you know, is different and stuff. So it's hard. There's no like one size fits all kind of thing with plants. We all know that. They all need different care and light requirements. I know I'm breaking so many of these roots right now, but she'll be okay. Sometimes if you transfer a plant to soil, it's a good idea to also put it into a humidity dome kind of thing situation for maybe a couple days if the leaves are like droopy, until the leaves are not droopy any longer, and then you can take them out of the humidity. I wouldn't do any like prolonged humidity because then you can definitely get rot that way. But sometimes alocasias, I know they can get droopy after being repotted, and they can perk back up once you put them in a humidity dome situation. I forgot that the alocasias have corms, so I'm trying to feel for any corms while I'm doing this as well. I probably won't find any corms. It's going to be very hard to notice if there's any corms or not with all of this soil, wet soil. So that was a really good question, Rachel. Thank you so much for asking that, as I am getting rid of all of this soil. She's so beautiful, you guys. I was so happy to find her. I'm excited that I had to share that with you guys here on YouTube, and I definitely wanted to do the repot with you guys, and I do want to show the progress of her as time goes by and see how she does with the transfer. So yeah, tip number 1 would be to make sure that you're not letting your plant root in water for too long, because sometimes they get too used to the water. And then to go from water to soil, it's just different types of roots. Tip number 2 would be to make sure that you're not potting her up too big. Make sure that the amount of soil that you're using is comparable to the amount of roots that the plant has. And tip number 3 would be maybe use some myco. And tip number 4 is you can also create a greenhouse humidity effect for the plant until it perks up and all the roots are rooted in the pot. And you can also use a heat mat underneath. I know that heat mats can promote, the warmth of the heat mats can promote more rapid root growth. And the other thing that you can do is you can use Super Thrive in the water that you use to water the plant in after you have repotted it. So those are my tips on repotting from water to soil. I hope that those can work for you guys, and sometimes, you know, less is more. So I wouldn't use like Super Thrive and myco and all those things. I would probably stick to one of the options, just because you don't want to kill off the roots that it does have before it gets used to being in soil. The roots on the bottom were kind of matted. She was very, very rooted. Okay, those are her beautiful long roots, you guys. I have a glass jar here that I prepared with just some lukewarm water, and I'm just going to give her roots a little bit of a rinse to try to remove as much as that substrate as I can. And I'm going to try to clean up some of this. I have some paper towels available next to me. So she's definitely going to need a bigger pot. So I'm going to go grab a bigger pot, and I'll be right back to answer the rest of the questions with you guys while she sits in water. So I grabbed this clear pot here. I believe this is a 4.5 inch compared to this pot. I believe this is like a 3-inch pot. And I have my soil here. I also picked up my mesh screens that I like to use because these holes are kind of large and I don't want to lose all the substrate from the bottom. And yeah, I'm going to grab the soil now. So this is my soil mix that you guys saw me make. It's super chunky and airy, great for alocasias. And I'm just going to put these mesh screens in the bottom of the pot, just a couple to make sure that all of the drainage holes are covered. Sometimes you have to cut them in half. And I like these mesh screens because you can sanitize them and reuse them. And I just soak mine. Sometimes I soak them in bleach and sometimes I will soak them in hydrogen peroxide depending on what I have available. So I think that is enough. I don't have my soil scoop. That's okay. We're going to use our hands. I don't feel like getting it. I've gotten up so many times already. So I'm going to do a light layer and then we'll pot her up. She's got gorgeous, gorgeous roots, you guys. So many. So I'm going to sit her in there like this. And I'm going to use some of the Myco. First, I want to make sure my hands dry before I dip in there. Nothing like having a fresh bag of Myco. And I'm just using that much. It's probably about a third of the little teaspoon, maybe a little bit more. And again, this is the granular kind. It's not powdery, but you want it to come in contact with the roots. And then we're just going to go ahead and fill around. Now, when I water her in, I will water her in with just some regular water, no fertilizer at all. This soil mix has worm castings in it already, so she will get some nutrients that are natural and organic. I did have a few people inquiring about my soil mix, so I'm thinking of selling it. Let me know down below in the comments if you would be interested in that. And I like to use my little skewers, as you guys know, to make sure there are no air gaps along the side. I do have to find a catch pot that she will fit in because I don't think she'll fit in that pot anymore. We can test it out and see if she'll fit in that pot. She might stick out a little from the top. She's leaning a little bit. Okay, I think that is good. And when we're all done with both plants, then I go ahead and water them in. She might need a little stake to keep her upright, but for now she'll be okay. Oh, she kind of still fits in there, you guys. I might just leave her in there. She just sticks out of the top a little bit, not too much. So I will have to clean that out though. Okay, so that is one down, one more to go. And the next one is going to go into Fluval. Let's move this water out of the way. Okay, so here is this one. I'm going to dump her into this mesh here so that I can clean the Fluval. So the next question was by Robert A. Keyboard here on YouTube. Check his channel out if you want to listen to some of his keyboarding skills and music. So this is what I meant by she didn't have a whole lot of roots and didn't seem happy in the pond, you guys. And some of these fine roots came off as well. So I'm going to try to reroot her some more. And she's been in this pond for a while. These roots feel firm, so there's no rot. Well, some of them are coming right off. So yeah, I think I just need to reroot her and maybe she'll grow some more roots. And I think maybe after she grows some roots, not maybe, I'm definitely going to put her into soil afterwards because I think she prefers soil over pond. Yeah. You can soak this in hydrogen peroxide if you like, but I'm comfortable with just wiping off or getting off all the rotted roots. This is what she's left with. She has one really good root there, and then this is like an offshoot or a corm growing. So yeah. So we're going to set this aside so I can clean it later. And we're going to grab the pond or Fluval. This one is super easy, you guys, because she barely has any roots. New fresh batch of Fluval as well. Yay! I think I want to rinse this off in the sink real quick before I put it in Fluval. So give me a second and I'll be right back. So she's rinsed off and we're going to put her in this small pot. I don't know if I want drainage or not. I think that she will be okay with no drainage. Yeah, I think that she'll be okay with no drainage. So I'm just going to scoop the Fluval in here. So Robert says, I have a question for repotting. The standard seems to be to water after a repot. Do you do this? I ask because sometimes it seems if you water immediately, the plant takes a path of root rot or mild decline after watering. So I don't think that it's the reason for the plant root rotting has anything to do with you watering immediately after you do a repot. I think that it might have something to do with either the substrate that the plant is going into, or like I said before, the amount of roots that the plant had. Like if it was used to a certain kind of substrate or something beforehand. Sometimes plants can take a little bit of a decline, and that's normal before they thrive again. And that's just because their surroundings have been changed and they're trying to get used to a new substrate. Also, the amount of light that you're giving the plant after you repot it will depend on how moist the substrate stays for how long. If your substrate is not airy enough for that plant, it could get rotted out. There's a lot of oxygen in water naturally, so that plant is used to being able to get enough oxygen for its roots. So it's very important to make sure that your substrate is very airy for the plant. So there she is. We'll water these two in a minute. And you want to make sure that you're putting that plant in a situation where it can grow more roots as well as acclimate to the substrate. And there are situations where I do not water plant after repotting. The situations that I would not water a plant after repotting is if it's a cacti or succulent where you have created wounds in the roots with the repot. Like let's say if you removed all the substrate, you have opened some wounds on their roots and they can rot out very easily when you water. So it's important when you do a repot for a cactus and succulent to not water for a few days. Give the roots time to heal and callus over. It will survive off of no water for a very long time because their leaves technically hold a lot of water. So it can survive on the reservoir of water that it has in its leaves. But for your more house plants, typical, easy to care for house plants, you want to make sure that you water in the roots, water in the soil, because those roots will dry out if you don't water it in. There are situations where sometimes you are repotting a plant and you're not removing the substrate and you had already watered that plant maybe the day before, where you don't really need to water that plant in unless that plant is super root bound all the way around and those roots are exposed to the dry soil. Then I would say yes, water it in, because the dry soil is probably going to wick away moisture from those roots, and you don't want those roots to dry out because then you can get dry rot. Or if you leave it in an extended amount of time without watering, they will get dry rot. When you go to water, then your plant will decline and you'll think you're giving it root rot, regular root rot, but in all actuality, it was dry rot because you didn't water beforehand. Again, water carries the oxygen naturally, and that's why it's important to water your plants in when you repot them, because that water that you're putting into the soil is putting in oxygen into the soil for the roots. I hope that kind of makes sense for you guys. That's kind of how I think about it. I'm not sure if that is like the thing that everybody says or anything like that, but that's the way I think of it when I do repots, that those roots need oxygen. And even if your soil is nice and airy, you want to make sure that you have moisture and oxygen for those roots so they can breathe and don't dry out. And my last question here to kind of wrap this video up for you guys is from my best friend here on YouTube, Mona from Plant Therapy. I will put her name up on the screen for you guys as well. She asked me, how long have I been selling plants? So I want to say about a year before I started back on YouTube sharing all of my planty journeys and things, I was already selling plants for a year already then. So I want to say maybe 2 to 3 years now I've been selling plants. I started with selling on Facebook Market. Actually, I think I started selling, like buying tables, like what are those? The like pop-ups here and there in Jersey. I actually only did one that was at a garden center, and I think it was Palmyra, if I'm not mistaken. I forget what the nursery was called, but it was a free one and I didn't have to buy a table, which was pretty cool. But I think I did a second one, if I'm not mistaken. I did buy the table, and they're definitely worth it, but there's a lot of work into that. And I decided that it would be easier for me to do things from home. So yeah, that's when I decided to sell locally on Facebook Market. I also do shipping sometimes, but for the larger plants that I'm selling, that are like plants that I have on my personal collection and things like that, I sell on Facebook Market locally. And then I started selling on PalmStreet. I've been selling on PalmStreet for about a year now. I've been really enjoying the journey. There are definitely some ups and downs on selling plants from home, but I'm here for the journey and I'm pushing through, and I hope that I continue to be successful. I am not selling, huge amount of plants by no means, but I do sell a good amount considering that I do everything myself. And all of the plants that I've been selling have been either from my collection, or I've made babies from my collection and things like that. So yeah, I would have to say it's been about 3 years that I've been selling on Facebook, PalmStreet, and, Facebook Market, PalmStreet, and the little pop-ups, garden centers, and things like that. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this plant chore video day, kind of. Yeah. Before this, you will have seen my unboxing of some Amazon hauls and also cleaning my plant room. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Click on that bell to get notified every time I upload a video. And also don't forget to check me out on PalmStreet and share this video so others can see it. Again, leave your comments down below. Any questions I didn't answer completely, or maybe I left something out. I don't know. I get kind of nervous on my videos still, even though I've been doing them for a while. But thank you, and I'll check you guys out on my next video. Bye.